What is up, guys? It is the Sound Alchemist, and once again, I'm back to bring you 40 facts on the Warhammer 40k universe. This time, we'll be talking about the gods of the 40k. There's tons of gods that you guys might not know. Obviously, the main ones are the Chaos gods. You've got Nurgle, Khorne, Slaanesh, and Tzeentch. And then, what most of the Imperium believes nowadays is that the Emperor is also a god, which may or may not be true. The Emperor wants you to believe that he is not, but again, basically the whole Imperium does, so belief is a very powerful thing in the 40k universe. Now we've also got the Star Gods, aka the Catan, and we've got the Eldar gods, such as Kayla, Mensha, Cain, Isha, and a few others that aren't as well known. Now even the orcs have gods. You've got Gork and Mork, and like I said, guys, there's tons of gods in the 40k universe. So I'm going to be starting a series where we go a little bit deeper into the lore of these gods. Now we have talked before on some of the Catan and some of, or actually all of the Chaos gods, I believe. We even did a video on Malal, which isn't really canon anymore, but you guys still say it's canon, so whatever you say. Anyway, guys, today we're going to be talking about one of the Eldar gods that isn't really well known, and that is Vaul. And so Vaul is the brother of Asuryan, which is the Phoenix King. He has a huge part to do with the Eldar lore. We'll get to him eventually, but for now, let's just focus on Vaul. So here are 40 facts on the Eldar god of Smith, Vaul. Like I said before, Vaul is the god of smiths and all craftsmen, as well as being the brother of the Phoenix King Asuryan, the ruler of the Eldar pantheon in Eldar mythology. Vaul is the patron god of all artisans and a small sect of the Eldar's primary psychic craftsmen, the Bone Singers. Vaul was the architect and primary engineer of Asuryan's palace during the first age of the Eldar. Before Asuryan created the barrier between the world of the gods and the mortals that split the universe between the physical realm and the immaterium, he was depicted as a busy man, always creating swords for the Eldar war god Cain, creating or repairing the needles of fate for the crone goddess Moraheg, maintaining the hunting equipment of Koronos, and performing all other acts of divine craftsmanship required by these Eldar gods. He often created musical instruments to accompany the luring dream songs of Lilith or the life-preserving songs of Isha. During the fall of the Eldar, Eldrad Othran believed that as Vaul had been set free from his imprisonment, he could have marshaled the defense of the Eldar gods. Because of his skills in craft and engineering, the gods would have never fallen to the hunger of the newborn Prince of Chaos, Slaanesh. But before we talk about the Eldar and Slaanesh, let's go a little bit back in time and learn more about Vaul and his brothers and sisters. So after the Phoenix King Asuryan banished the Eldar from the heavenly realms to the mortal lands, both Koronos and Isha came to their uncle Vaul as they were both dismayed for being separated from their children. Thus they asked Vaul to aid them in finding a means to regain contact with their offspring, and according to legend, the smith god took the tears of Isha, from which he fashioned the first spirit stones. Through such a means, the Eldar were able to communicate with their gods, despite being separated from one another, and though Asuryan had banished them. Vaul gave one of the spirit stones to Isha, while the rest were given to her children, so they could speak to one another in secret. Through these secret exchanges, the Eldar learned how to use runes and create skeletal structures from wraithbone. Unfortunately for Isha and Vaul, Kayla, Mensha, Cain one day overheard Isha talking through the stone to the Eldar and informed Asuryan, who was enraged that his command had been broken. To punish the perpetrators, he had Koronos and Isha over to Cain to do as he pleased with them. But Vaul could not see any harm done to them, and thus struck a bargain with the war god, who agreed to release the pair in exchange for 1,000 enchanted blades within a year's time. The smith god worked long and hard. He managed to forge all the blades except the last one that lay unfinished on his anvil. In order to trick Cain, Vaul substituted this last blade with a mortal one, which he delivered to the war god, who released his 2 captives, whereupon the 3 departed. Cain was quick to discover the subterfuge and cried out in rage, where he called the smith god a cheat, but vowing revenge. The aftermath of this event is explained in The Dream of a Surian, where Vaul returned to order the reforged, unfinished blade that was intended for Cain. In the last days of the war in heaven, the weapon was reworked into a blade that he named Anaris. With it, by his hand, he moved to fight with the war god in a series of battles after being caught by him. Vaul used Anaris to fight against Cain in a long and hard battle, where he managed to wound his foe, but despite his injuries, the war god's fury managed to overpower the smith god, who was toppled from the heavens. It is said that this result of this fall crippled Vaul, and his final defeat came when Cain chained him to his own anvil, thus leading to the war god's victory. Now, even though Vaul was defeated, this was not the end. For the falcon Falkchu, consort of the great hawk, who had fought for Vaul, took the sword of Anaris and delivered it to Eldanesh, the greatest warrior and leader of the immortal Eldar. With Anaris in hand, Eldanesh of the Red Moon took up the fight and faced Cain in single combat. Eldanesh indeed fought well, but in the end he too was defeated by Cain, his body crushed by the god of war. As Cain slew Eldanesh, his hand began to drip with red blood. Forever he was to become known as Kala Mensha Cain, which stands for Cain the Bloody-Handed in the Eldar lexicon. By this time, Asurian, the greatest of the Eldar gods, had seen enough of the slaughter and proclaimed the war in heaven over. Cain had gained his vengeance and left the field satisfied. And now let's talk about some of the creations of Vaul, beginning with the Vaul Moon. The Eldar artifact called the Awakening was discovered by the forces of the Imperium of Man on the world of Rehe's Paradise. It was studied by Sister Superior Merida of the Order Dialogus, and it is known to have concerned the ancient Necrontyr. According to the translated inscription on the artifact, the Vaul Moon shall bring forth the dragon, and the sister's annotations led her to determine that Vaul was the elder god of the Forge, who was a blasphemous deity, who was crippled both physically and spiritually. Her analysis led her to conclude that a Vaul Moon was the Eldar equivalent to a Forge world. The Talismans of Vaul. During the War in Heaven, powerful weapons, known as the Talismans of Vaul, were crafted by the Eldar, and they were used to destroy the Catan. Following the emergence of Slaanesh, the majority of the Eldar deities died, and they were absorbed by this new Chaos God, with only Cain and Kegara being the last survivors. Despite this being the case, the Wraithsmiths of the craft world Kalor held Vaul as the most potent patron, with Griff the Radiant building many monuments to honor his name. And it is known that recently many of the feared talismans of Vaul had been destroyed by the machinations of the Catan god known as the Deceiver. And that's pretty much all the lore that there is on this Eldar god of smiths. He's pretty cool. He reminds me a lot of I played a God of War, I believe it was 3, and you had that smith god in there. Kind of reminds me of that. There's a lot of I guess this whole concept is kind of brought by the Roman and Greek gods, so you'll see that a lot, such as the God of War, Cain, etc. But anyway, guys, what did you guys think? This is some pretty interesting lore that the game Warhammer 40k doesn't really cover, because the only real playable ones is Kala Mensha Cain and the currently new birthed god Yniad. So I do wish they put out more gods that we can actually play with. For example, if they did some models for Khorne, Tzeentch, even Gork and Mork, and like all the Catans, that'd be amazing. It'd be really awesome to actually see these guys do battle, since they're supposed to be really OP. And it's awesome because, like, even in here, they're talking about gods versus gods. You've got the Catan versus, you know, a whole bunch of gods, and it's awesome. It's awesome. Just seeing this battle in my head play out sounds amazing. If you guys have your own stats for these Catan or other gods, send it to us. We'd like to see how they play out. It sounds really cool, like I said, guys. But anyway, let me know what other gods you guys want me to cover. I'm about to make a playlist with all the gods in it, so check that out. Like I said, we've got a lot of the Chaos ones in there. We got a lot of the Catan on there, so check it out, guys. We got more to come also. And that's pretty much all I have. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and hit us up on our Instagram and Twitter page for more things 40k. Now we also have a Facebook page, which we post each and every day, so check that out. For the most part, we talk about Warhammer 40k, but every now and then we sprinkle in a little bit of Magic the Gathering, some Marvel, DC stuff, you know, nerdy stuff. Anyway, guys, that's all the time I have. As always, I'm the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow.